Hi, I'm Layla, and I'm going to show you some exercises to strengthen the muscles on the side of your pelvis and the deep rotators that are in the back of the pelvis, deep of the glute max. These muscles help stabilize your hips, your pelvis while you're standing on one leg or walking. They're very helpful for everyday movement and sports. You can come onto your side, so you want to get your mat out or something comfortable, and then I'm going to use a pillow, but you could also use your arm to prop your head up. So you can come down on the pillow, you could bend your arm like this. You could also come up here. If you choose this position, you want to watch out that you're not kind of collapsing down and letting your shoulders shrug up, but instead that you have a little bit of work down here to hold yourself up. I'm going to use the pillow. So our focus really is on the strength here on the side of the hip and deep in the back there. So we'll start with the rotation exercise. You're going to have your knees comfortably bent, not fetal, not too small here. So maybe, bending them in like 45, 45. And your top pelvis, the top part of your pelvis is stacked over the bottom part, meaning you're not leaning back, which is what most commonly happens. So top hip over bottom hip, if you want to think of it that way. Take the top arm and keep it on the ground. If you bring your arm back behind you, you're going to be really likely to dip back, plus you'll want the support later. So from here, just take the top leg and you're going to externally rotate it, and then bring it back down. And I'd like you to feel this deep of your glute max. So what you think of as your butt cheek, deep of there are 6 little muscles running on the diagonal, and they facilitate this internal and external rotation of the thigh bone or the femur. You can take your hand and place it kind of in the center of that glute, of that top glute that you're working on, right in the center of it, and push a little bit, and you'll feel those muscles pop up under your hand. That's where you want to feel it. You don't want to feel it in the front of your hip. You don't want to feel like, oh, I'm getting a good hip flexor quad exercise. Those muscles will try and take over for you, so you want to really feel that in the back. If that's too easy, you can lift both feet a little bit and turning the leg out. Another variation is you can do a small, slow pulse here at the top of the range. That's going to help you feel those muscles a little bit more. And then to work on that internal rotation, you can keep the leg up, keep the knee where it is, and then you're going to internally rotate the thigh, so that's going to bring the heel up closer towards the ceiling, and then back down. So you're still going to feel the rotators, you're still going to feel it deep of the glute max. Notice I am not doing this. This is very different. You see how my knee is dropping down and touching the other knee? That's not what I'm doing. Staying turned out, internally rotating the thigh bone, and then the heel comes up a bit and down. You could also do this with the bottom leg resting down. So, depending on your strength level, you could do between 8 and 15 repetitions of both the external rotation and then that internal rotation. Great. All right, so now we're going to work on the abductors. These muscles are on the side of the hip. You have choices for the bottom leg. The bottom leg can be bent. That's going to give you the most stability. No matter what position it's in, it's going to be pushing down into the mat to help stabilize you. And this hand that I keep moving around to talk to you will be here the whole time for you. You have another choice. If you've done this before, if you feel really stable, you can take this bottom leg, straighten it, and bring it slightly forward on the mat. That's going to give you a little more challenge, but you'll still have the stability. And then the other option is to bring your leg in line with your torso. Be careful you don't bring it behind you when you think you're bringing it in line. If you go behind you, all the muscles of the back are going to kick in and take over the stability, and you're not going to get the support from the front. So in line with your torso if you want, and so you'll have a little bit of back stability and a little bit of ab stability, right? So I'll go with the bent leg, the first variation for you. Top leg is extended. Now this is really important. Both sides of the waist are long. What that means is you're not hiking the hip up, and so if you hike the hip up, there's a muscle on the side of your waist that will take over the work for you, and it won't feel, you won't feel it in the area you're trying to target. It'll just be a different exercise. So really reach this top leg, but be careful you don't reach the top leg so much that you crunch on the bottom. So you want to feel that length on both sides of the waist. There's a little bit of lift on that underside. For the top leg, you're just going to reach it long and think of reaching out to go up and down. Now notice I am not doing this. So I want you to keep your pelvis stable and you're just moving this femur, this thigh bone, in the hip socket. You are not moving your whole pelvis. This is me just moving my pelvis and my leg goes along for the ride. That's a very different exercise. I want you instead to move your leg in the hip socket, keeping the pelvis stable. By now you should feel this. You should feel some work on the side of your hip. So variations, we've just been doing an up and down variation. You can go forward and back. And for right now, I'm just keeping my foot pointed. I feel like I'm throwing a lot at you right now if you've never done these before. And then some circles. Circles are fun. You can do small circles, you can do medium-sized circles, you can do a larger circle. If you do that larger circle, well, no matter what size, make sure you keep your pelvis stable. And then remember to reverse, because when you reverse, when you start going back first, you're going to feel that upper hamstring and glute kick in. And you want to feel that. So, repetitions. Depends on your strength level. Kind of start where you are. You want to feel some warmth to the muscle. You want to feel like you're working so you can get stronger. Between 8 and 15 again if you'd like. And if you want some choreography for the feet, you can point for that first, the up and down. You can point the foot, lift up, flex, and lower. If this feels like a lot to think about, just pick pointed or flex and move your leg up and down. For the front and back, you can inhale, flex as you come forward, exhale, point as you go back. Inhale, flex as you come forward, exhale, point as you go back. Again, if that's too much to think about, pick pointed or flexed, move your leg. Same thing for circles, pointed or flexed, and you can do just continuous circles of the same size. A nice variation is to do 2 small, 2 medium, and 2 large, and then reverse 2 small, 2 medium, and 2 large. That'll really fatigue that area for you. Then you're going to roll over and do the other side. And after you've done both sides, or even in between, you're going to do a stretch. You're going to lie on your back, and you want to have your knees bent. You're going to cross one ankle over the opposite knee. So for some of you, you might find yourself in this position, and just being here is a pretty big stretch. So you're stretching, in this case I'm showing the other side so you can see, but you're stretching the muscles you were just working. And for those of you who are a little more flexible and maybe being in this position you don't feel a stretch, you're welcome to pick up that other leg. You can take your hand, dive it through, and give that thigh a little hug. And so again, you want to kind of feel that stretch through here. Great. So these exercises are really helpful for stabilizing, which I said before. They can be really helpful for the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint, just sort of stabilizing your pelvis. They're really great. Make sure you don't get too tight. So if you do these, you should fatigue, and you probably don't need to do them every day. That's probably a little too much. Remember to stretch them out, and I hope you enjoy them.